On August 10, 2026, OpenAI shipped something it had spent years insisting its models should refuse to do. It's called GPT-5.6-Cyber, and it is the company's first offense-grade hacking model, an AI trained specifically to find unknown security holes in software and to write the exploit chains that break through them. Not to lecture you about ethics. To actually do it. And the most important thing to understand up front is this: almost nobody is allowed to touch it. Let's answer the obvious question first, because if you came here from a search bar you don't want a 10-minute wind-up. What is GPT-5.6-Cyber, really? It's a specialized version of GPT-5.6-Sol, OpenAI's flagship model, retrained for one job: cybersecurity. Finding zero-day vulnerabilities, the kind nobody has discovered yet, and stringing them together into working attack chains. And here is the part that makes security people sit up. OpenAI deliberately trained it to refuse less often on high-risk, dual-use tasks, the exact requests the public version of ChatGPT is built to shut down. This is confirmed, straight from OpenAI's own announcement, titled, "Expanding Daybreak as the Cyber Defense Window Narrows." How much better is it than a normal model? The numbers are almost hard to believe. On OpenAI's internal test for advanced cyber work, exploit chain development, authentication bypass, privilege escalation, GPT-5.6-Cyber answered 95% of the questions. Standard GPT-5.6-Sol, the same base model without the special training, answered 1.5%. The previous generation, GPT-5.5-Cyber, managed 57%. So in one jump, OpenAI went from a model that solved about half of these problems to one that solves almost all of them. That gap, 95 versus 1.5, is the whole story. This is a machine that does something its own parent model essentially cannot. And this isn't a lab demo. Before the August 10th launch, OpenAI says it pointed GPT-5.6-Cyber at real software. It found two previously unknown vulnerabilities inside V8, the JavaScript engine that runs Chrome, flaws that could be chained together to corrupt memory and escape Chrome's sandbox, the security wall that's supposed to keep a malicious web page from touching the rest of your computer. On top of that, the model reportedly surfaced more than 400 kernel privilege escalation vulnerabilities, the type of bug that lets an attacker go from a limited foothold to full control of a system. To be precise, these figures come from OpenAI itself, so treat them as the vendor's own numbers until outside researchers reproduce them. But even discounted, the direction is clear. So if this thing is so dangerous, why release it at all? OpenAI's argument is a race against the clock, and it's genuinely worth hearing. Their logic: attackers are going to get AI this capable whether OpenAI ships a defensive version or not. If AI can now outhunt human researchers at finding zero days, then the side that deploys it first wins. Give it to defenders, the people patching systems, and they can find and fix the holes before criminals and hostile governments walk through them. That's what the phrase in their blog title means, the defense window narrowing. They believe the only safe move is to arm the good guys faster than the bad guys can arm themselves. Which brings us to the part that actually affects you, even if you never write a line of code. OpenAI did not just drop this on the open internet. It split its cyber program, called Daybreak, into two locked tiers. Blue is the general tier, running on the standard Sol model with fewer guardrails than public ChatGPT, meant for everyday defensive work like code review and incident response. Red is the only door to GPT-5.6-Cyber, and it is bolted shut. Identity verification, account security requirements, constant monitoring, restrictions on what you're allowed to use it for, and signed legal attestations. This is not a product you buy. It's a clearance you're granted. And the guest list is short. Access is limited to a handful of trusted partners, names like Accenture, IBM, CrowdStrike, and Cloudflare, big security and infrastructure firms OpenAI has vetted. So think about what that means in practice. The single most capable publicly known offensive hacking tool on the planet is now a private instrument, handed to a few corporations and gatekept by one company in San Francisco. OpenAI decides who gets to wield it. Not a government, not a regulator, not a court. A private lab, choosing the deputies. Whether that comforts you or worries you probably says a lot about how much you trust that lab. Now, here is the honest counter case, because this channel doesn't do one-sided. The strongest argument for the critics is simple: dual use means the exact same capability cuts both ways. The skill that lets a defender patch a hole faster is the skill that lets an attacker breach it faster. All that stands between those two outcomes is OpenAI's screening, and screening has failed before at every company that's ever tried it. A vetted partner can have an insider. Legal attestations don't stop a determined nation-state that steals the model weights. And by openly training an AI to refuse less on offensive tasks, OpenAI has proven, publicly, that a model this capable can exist at all, which is a roadmap competitors and adversaries can now chase. There's also a subtler worry that security researchers have raised. The moment you demonstrate that an AI can find 400 serious vulnerabilities faster than a human team, you don't just help defenders. You reset the entire economics of attack. A lone actor who once needed a skilled team and months of work might soon need a subscription and a weekend. OpenAI's bet is that keeping the best version locked behind red tier buys defenders enough of a head start to matter. The critics' bet is that the head start is measured in months, and the leak is inevitable. Nobody actually knows who's right yet. That's the uncomfortable truth underneath all of this. So what does this mean for you, personally? In the short term, honestly, something good. Those Chrome flaws OpenAI found. Those get patched. The 400 kernel bugs. Patched. The first real-world effect of GPT-5.6-Cyber is that the software you use every day gets a little more secure, quietly, in the background, because defenders got a powerful new tool first. That's the optimistic read, and for now, it's the accurate one. The long-term picture is where it gets tense. We have just watched the leading AI company cross a line it used to treat as sacred, building a machine explicitly good at breaking things, and then appointing itself the one who decides who's trustworthy enough to hold it. Maybe that's the responsible path in a world where the alternative is attackers getting there unsupervised. Or maybe it's the first step down a road where the most powerful cyber weapons on Earth are privately owned and privately licensed, with the rest of us just hoping the vetting holds. Here's the question worth sitting with. For years, the promise was that AI would refuse to do the dangerous thing. Now the pitch has flipped, the danger is real, it's here, and the only safety is making sure the right people get it first. That's a very different world than the one we were sold. If OpenAI's gatekeeping holds, we all get safer software and barely notice. If it slips, even once, we find out exactly how sharp this tool really is. Which of those futures you find more likely, tell me in the comments, because that disagreement is the entire debate. If this reframed how you think about AI safety, subscribe, we break down one of these stories the day it happens.